Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special installment of our CapeSpace Connection series. I'm your host, Haley Cote, Community Manager of CapeSpace Mashpee, and today I am thrilled to be chatting with a very special woman. She is our Community Innovator this month, and she is the founder of Be Free Wellness. So without further ado, everyone, please welcome Ayanna Parrent. Ayanna, hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm so excited to be chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love it. This is so fun.
Absolutely. So, Ayanna, before we get into learning more about Be Free, I had only ever heard about it in passing before, so I'm so excited to get to increase the awareness of this incredible organization. But before we get started on that, can you tell me a little bit of your backstory and kind of how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, well, let me do the short version because the other one's kind of long. So I'm a licensed independent clinical social worker, but also a fitness person. And I did social work for like years and years, and then just got super burnt out on it.
Hmm.
And tried therapy for myself, and just had some personal things that were coming up, and I was trying all these different things, but nothing was really working. And then I discovered sort of movement and mindfulness, and sort of the combination of that with therapy seemed to really be something that worked for me. And so I ended up designing my own curriculum, and now share it with other people. And that's sort of the small version of Be Free. And my studio is in Harwichport. And
Oh no, I think
yeah.
I lost you for a second there.
Oh, I know.
Oh, you're there. You're back.
I'm back.
Okay. So Ayanna, to kind of dovetail off of that, so I know you have your own kind of story and journey that I think must have inspired you to start Be Free. Do you mind sharing kind of as much as that as you're comfortable with?
Oh, totally. I love talking about it. So I'm definitely a person in recovery. And so I really, that journey for me was the catalyst for all the wellness stuff I do right now. And so we don't just do recovery stuff, but when I talk about recovery, I really mean like anyone recovering from anything. Because for me, sort of the gateway to any sort of addiction is trauma. And so when I was looking at designing Be Free, and just my own recovery journey, I really discovered that the roots of all of that was trauma, and the roots of it were sort of stuck in the body, and that people really needed a pathway in order to get that out. So um, I ended up, just for my addiction, being able to get healthy and clean. I was in rehab. I went twice. And the second time, I really discovered that in order to heal, for me, I had to do it on my yoga mat. And so what I did was I did yoga, and then I did breath work, and then I wrote, and I did breath work, and I cried and I screamed, and I kind of got really down and dirty with the trauma that I was dealing with related to some of my family history. And just my mom had a history of addiction, and there was a lot of abandonment issues there. And I had to really dig deep in order to sort of get those issues to the forefront. So um, I ended up really writing a curriculum out of that. So it ended up being my journal, but it also ended up being this really cool curriculum that is now my coaching model and sort of the backbone of Be Free, of how we help people really get the emotions out of our body. So I'm, as much as I think that that moment was probably the most difficult one of my life, it ended up being the most beautiful, because I don't know that I'd be in business right now without that one moment. So yeah.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. Oh my gosh. So yeah, tell me more about Be Free and its programs.
So the business has been, it's like 4 years old. So when I started from that moment on the yoga mat, I literally sort of had this journal. And then people always ask, like, how did you start it? Right. For business people, they're like, how do you start a business? I just walked around and was like, well, now I'm the owner of Be Free Wellness. I didn't have anything. And then they got me like talking about like how, people would ask me questions, and I'd be like, oh, great question. And then I just have to kind of play with the answer. And so that was like kind of the great way. That's how it all started. The free stands for find, recover, evolve, and enjoy.
Mhm.
And so people are always wondering, it is an acronym.
Mhm.
It came from a bunch of us were sitting around having sushi together, a bunch of friends of mine, and we were talking like, what are you going to call this new thing? Like, what are you going to, and I was like, I have no idea. Like, wellness has to be in there, but I didn't know anything else. And so someone asked me, well, how do you want our 3 month coaching program or done at a class at a studio or leaving your space? And I was like, I just want everyone. And I started as a sole proprietor, and I had a small studio. Well, I have a studio in Harwich Port now, but I actually started just with a small office in Hyannis, and then I was doing all the classes at different places, but doing the coaching in offices, and then finally was able to get it all under one roof. And so now we're in Harwich Port, so my own studio, which is great. And so we have a variety of different things that we offer. And so there's the main studio program is, that's open to the public, which is cool. Like anyone can take Zumba and dance, and anyone can take Pound, and which is a cardio fit class using drumsticks and yoga. And we do a bunch of different workshops for like holistic healing, chakra healing. We just had someone come and do an incredible sound bath healing. Everything we do is holistic and really geared towards getting people to understand just health and wellness in the body and how that relates to mental health. And then we have our individual services. So the individual coaching model, which is a 3 month model that really is designed to help people get difficult emotions out of the body. We just trained and now hired. Well, we trained eight coaches in the coaching model because I couldn't do all by myself anymore. And we have 3 social workers now and a clinical supervisor that can see people through the studio, and through our coaching services. Everything we do, even though people always want to know like what's the difference between like social work and coaching. The coaching model really is geared specifically towards it's very like action based and accountability based, and really immersed for the 3 months in homework and all that kind of stuff. And however, our social workers do use movement and mindfulness as part of what they do. It really is more of a program that is geared around traditional therapy that people are used to. And so we'd like to offer both because I know not everyone fits into one model. That's sort of something that we really deal with, is really offering different programs to different people so that they can really get a variety of different services and stuff that they're comfortable as well.
Right.
Yeah, and then we have personal training, coaching, fitness stuff too. Everyone can be seen individually, and Reiki is also offered individually.
Nice. So it's a really well-rounded and certainly not cookie cutter approach, which I think is wonderful. Yeah. Mm. So Ayanna, you have a quote on your website where you say that you believe in mental wealth as opposed to health. That sounds quite powerful. Can you explain more about that?
Sure. If you think about like money and abundance
Mhm.
and and all of that,
Mhm.
around wealth. So when we talk about mental health and changing and shifting,
Mhm.
a lot of people don't look at mental health as something that is like that's already in them that they have, and that's already sort of an abundant thing in their life. So I like to talk about it in terms of mental wealth of something that's already abundant and changing and growing, but really in the essence of energy of abundance. So that's the easiest way I can explain that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's wonderful. Let's see. So, Ayanna, what would be your advice to anyone who's listening who maybe currently is struggling with their well-being and maybe doesn't know which way to go or what to do?
Yeah, so I think what everyone is probably struggling with, whether
Mm-hmm.
the COVID situation has just been so heavy. I know for lots of people, not just people with trauma or addiction or any of that, although particularly for those people who have experienced trauma or even like racial trauma or, all the things that have been so hard. I think that a lot of people feel sort of underwater and just really heavy. And we thought it was gone, and now it's like, is it gone? Like
Mm.
the brain is still there. And
Yeah.
somebody was like, the vaccines work. We're not even, like, are we wearing masks? We're going back to like all those
Mm.
variables.
Mm.
And so just to let people know that it is overwhelming. And the first
Mhm.
step in that is really just acknowledging that, right? All of our brains right now feel like they're going in a million different directions. And
Mhm.
just think about the last year and a half really has been about survival. And so if people know
Yeah.
anything about trauma, really like PTSD and all of that stuff, our brains are really overwhelmed. And so just taking everything really slow, and forgiving yourself if you feel like there were things that you could do before that you can't do now. And really just trying to understand that when the brain is that overwhelmed, it really needs to take things in small portions. So if you're
Mhm.
someone that's used to being like a workaholic and really
Mhm.
energetic and go getter, and
Mhm.
you don't feel like that's your path right now, that's totally fine. Doesn't mean that that's gone. It just
Mhm.
means that we are all shifting and changing in a way that we weren't necessarily ready to or prepared to. And so,
Mhm.
really giving ourselves a break and loving really the stage that we're at with all of it. And some of it I sort of describe as like the grief process of understanding
Mhm.
we're in a pandemic, and then all of the feelings that go with that, and just honoring that. And then just my favorite thing to talk about is breath work. So it doesn't mean like every time I say meditation, people get like freaked out. They're like, "Oh my god, do I just sit down and like for like half an hour, 20 minutes?" No, 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 no. All it is just being still with your breath and
Mhm.
just giving your mind and your body, even for like a minute,
Mhm.
just space and time to just be. There's humans take a lot of stimulus in all the time, particularly on our
Mhm.
phones, particularly on the TV. So even if it's just a minute, just gathering the breath. And for some people, they're like, I can't even do that. Like that's
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
Another big, huge tip, even though it's so small, is that when you're at a red light, take 3 really deep breaths in and out. So in through the nose and then out longer through the mouth. It really
Mhm.
allows the parasympathetic net of the nervous system to really slow down. So
Mhm.
that's where we
Mhm.
get like crazy, is when people often wonder like, why do I get panic attacks, right? Especially in COVID,
Mhm.
it happened to a lot of people that never happened before. And it's because we just get so overwhelmed. But once we're like calm, that's when
Mhm.
the panic attacks start, because our body knows that we're actually able to feel whatever that anxiety is.
Right. Mm. Mm. Mhm.
Oh, the other tip I would say, putting your feet in the ground, and then using your breath to really slow whatever's happening down, so that the brain can really know that it's safe and in a place that is okay.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, that's all wonderful advice. And I don't know if you could take any positivity out of the pandemic. I think maybe one thing is learning how to have that self-awareness
Yeah.
and focusing on yourself as best you can. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing in that way. Yeah. Mhm.
And just balance. Like it's okay to
Mhm.
like not do a million things at once. Just do one
Right.
at a time. There really is
Mhm.
no thing as multitasking, even though people think that there is.
Right.
It's only doing a million things not very well at once.
Exactly. Yep.
So just
I know.
slowing
We
it
can all try
down.
to fool ourselves, but
I
yeah.
know. Like I think I'm the best multitasker. Really, like look at my desk. It's just like a million pieces of paper that they never really got done very thoughtfully.
Yeah. Oh goodness. So, Ayanna, is there anything else you wanted to make note of? Anything that's kind of coming up in the future for Be Free that you want to kind of tease for people?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I didn't also mention that in my saying that my business model, we shifted from sole proprietor to nonprofit, and
Mhm,
the reason we did that sort of was around the pandemic, and I kind of hem and hawed forever,
mhm,
like, should I be a sole proprietor? Should I? In the pandemic, that we needed to really help people through funding to support the wellness and health services. Because what ended up happening, and which is still happening, is because people were struggling mentally so much. All the therapists were full. A lot of therapists were dealing with stuff on their own. That there was a lot of deaths that people were dealing with, and so everyone was maxed out. Um,
mhm,
and access to the healthcare in general was difficult before the pandemic. So now imagine all of that on top. So we really designed the nonprofit to make health and wellness accessible to everyone. And that also includes people regardless of race, class, gender, all of those things, which in this society, as we know, which it's difficult for people to have access, particularly the BIPOC community. So we create a nonprofit in which supports all those things. And so no one's ever turned away from Be Free. So even if you don't have health insurance, or if you have health insurance that we don't take in terms of for the social workers or clinical therapy, we fund that. And that's really why we designed the program the way we did. So just to let people know that, so check out our website, it's befreewell.com. And all of the services are on there. Ooh, thanks.
I was prepared. Yeah.
That feature is so great. Yeah, and we're currently accepting need of therapy or wellness or health or just anything that they feel like they want to look into, or just a sense of peace or calm. It doesn't even have to be anything specific or a major crisis. It really could just be, hey, or sometimes just people come to need a space to just be. Our studio is open, and just the place to feel like you belong and accepted without judgment, and definitely a place to have fun and move your body.
Yes.
So all of that, it's all in there.
Right. It makes it so much more approachable too, like, whatever you're struggling with can be intimidating to try to tackle, and to come to a space that's so safe and that's like, okay, let's have fun,
Right. Yeah, I try to get that message across because it's, everyone's like, oh, I can't go to the gym and all, all this stuff. But, and also therapy, some therapy clinician that's going to like analyze them and diagnose them. And it's all, our approach is very different. It's very community based. It's very, very relaxed. There is a lot of fun. Like the goal is to have lots of people leave laughing and joyful. Humor is a part of our curriculum. And yeah, so it just, if anyone is just looking for a place to come or call home, that we are there.
That's incredible. And something else I can tease, guys, we actually have a partnership with Be Free that is in the works. So stay tuned for more details on that as well.
Yes, you're going to have access to our coaches and our therapists, and at both sites. So we're really excited about that partnership.
So excited about that.
Yeah,
It's gonna be incredible.
It's great. Really good.
Well, Ayanna, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. This has been a real pleasure.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for asking.
Yes. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.